How's it going, everyone? Well, it looks like another live service game is shutting down. And why I'm doing a video on Spectre Divide in particular is this game literally just dropped on PlayStation 5. Now, it's been available on PC for a little bit, but it only dropped on PC, I want to say, in September of 2024. It was in a preseason period, and Season 1 has just kicked off, and with that, a lot of new updates and content rollout. I talked about this game in a previous video as well, a couple of previous videos, and now it has been officially announced that the game will be shutting down. It will be live for a little while longer, but let's go over the official statement, a letter to Spectre fans, a message from our CEO about the future of Spectre Divide and Mountaintop Studios. Dear Spectre fans, it's been 2 weeks since we launched Spectre Divide Season 1 Flashpoint. We're incredibly grateful for the positivity and the support that you've shown over that short time. Unfortunately, the Season 1 launch hasn't achieved the level of success we needed to sustain the game and keep Mountaintop afloat. We were optimistic about the first week. We had 400,000 players play with a peak concurrent player count of 10,000 across all platforms. But as time has gone on, we haven't seen enough active players and incoming revenue to cover the day-to-day costs of Spectre and the studio. Since the PC launch, we stretched out our remaining capital as far as we could, but at this point, we're out of funding to support the game. This means Mountaintop will be closing its doors at the end of this week. We expect to take Spectre offline within the next 30 days, but we plan on disabling new purchases and refunding money spent since Season 1 launch via platforms. We'll be following up with more information soon. We pursued every avenue to keep going, including finding a publisher, additional investment, and or an acquisition. In the end, we weren't able to make it work. The industry is in a tough spot right now. You can say that again. The industry is in a very, very difficult spot right now. This is a painful update to share. We love Spectre and we're incredibly proud of what we built with this community from the entire team at Mountaintop. I want to thank the Spectre community for all your support these past few years. We've loved every minute and we're sincerely going to miss you. Special thanks to our incredible investors too, without Spectre wouldn't have been possible. This has always been a passion project for us, born out of love for this genre, an indie team of insanely talented individuals who came together from around the world to build a game we believed in. We wanted to deliver something innovative and original in a crowded genre that would bring friends together around unforgettable moments. We shook up the format, created a fresh art style and universe, and partnered with some of our heroes. All of us knew from the beginning that the odds were against us, but that's what we signed up for. It was never a surefire bet. We did it anyway. We had a few tough stumbles out of the gate when we launched in September, but this team rallied and poured everything into tackling your critical feedback for Season 1. We made major changes, improvements to virtually every area of the game and brought the game to consoles, even though it wasn't enough to achieve financial success. This team fought tooth and nail and went down swinging. Game development is full of twists, turns, and surprises, and the industry has changed dramatically since we started the project in 2020. Highlight that fact, a lot of these games that you're seeing right now got greenlit in 2020, 2019, 2021, where the industry trajectory was in a very different place. And now with these games coming out, all of them being greenlit around the same time frame, you're seeing some of those consequences also bear fruit. Not necessarily that the outlook in 2020, I don't think a lot of people were thinking, oh, gaming's gonna fall off. I think a lot of people were getting into the game. There was a lot of big money being thrown around in greenlighting these massive projects, and ultimately, the reality is, when all of these games are coming out, only a select few are going to be as successful as needed. Even though we missed the mark this time, we wouldn't trade this journey for anything. That's all from us. See you out there. It is interesting. This is a case where they don't have the financial resources to continue going. Remember, this is a self-published game by Mountaintop. While they may have had some investors and whatnot, it's not like they had a gigantic backing from a publisher, so to speak, that was going to support the game, even if it was in a financial downswing. And in this case, it looks like the financial viability for the game wasn't available, and we've seen this in the past. Look at something that did have a significant financial backing with Concord. Concord was looked as an IP that was going to be, you know, PlayStation's Star Wars, or a big title from PlayStation, and they saw the reception of the game, they saw how many players were active in the game in week 1, and they decided to pull the plug right away. I do think there's something, and I don't think this is the case of Spectre Divide, because again, as a self-published game, you have a finite level of resources, but other live service games like a Concord, even though PlayStation could have kept that game running, at a certain point you have to be like, why are we going to keep this game running? Yeah, we did put a lot into it, but it's the cost sunk fallacy in a lot of cases. I do think, especially in the case of Concord in particular, it was better to cut your losses while you're ahead of the game. In the case of Spectre Divide, it's unfortunate because, again, as a self-published game, one with an incredibly unique art style and a game that did have some unique aspects to it. This element of duality to freely swap between your second body, the Spectre at any moment to outplay the enemy team, that was a big aspect of the game and added another layer to the gameplay. They obviously wanted to try to put a new twist on the multiplayer FPS genre, but the reality is this live service FPS genre, the live service shooter genre, and live service games in general, when there is so much competition, and again, a lot of these games got greenlit in 2020, 2021, where we thought that there was going to be this endless supply and so much money to be made during the world being shut down and so on and so forth, and gaming really popping off, but there's only a finite amount of time to go around. That is the ultimate, hurdle that these games are going to come across, that yes, the top games are gonna rake in a lot of revenue, they're gonna make a lot of money, but ultimately, people are not gonna be juggling 10 live service games, 10 multiplayer shooters at the same time. Like, let's say, with your typical single-player narrative-driven title, yeah, you play it, you might spend a week, 2 weeks on it, and then you move on with your life. In the case of games like Spectre Divide, games like Marvel Rivals, games like Concord, you need a perpetual interest in the game to keep that game viable in the long term. And Concord was a little bit different because it had a $40 buy-in, but you get the idea of this live service shooter and live service games in general, and there's only so much investment to be going around. That's just what it comes down to. There's only so much investment that players can put into any game. Like Fragpunk right now is doing fairly well. It's getting quite a lot of attention, and it's doing pretty good numbers, all things considered. It's not doing like Marvel Rivals numbers, but you don't gotta pull Marvel Rivals numbers. You just need to pull numbers that are gonna lead to long-term viability, and we'll see if Fragpunk has long-term viability, but right now those numbers are good. Spectre Divide, on the other hand, Concord, on the other hand, it's just that some of these games are not going to find that player count for long-term viability, and a lot of the times it's not even an indictment on the game. The game could be fairly good, but there's a lot of other factors in play that makes a game successful, especially when you're talking about a game that inherently is asking for so much commitment from the consumer. Even though a Spectre Divide is a free-to-play game, and a lot of these live service games are free-to-play games, there is a currency you're spending, and that currency is your time, and all these games are asking for a lot of that, or ideally they would like to get a lot of that from the player. But that'll do it for me. The game is scheduled to shut down within the next 30 days, and again, Season 1 just kicked off, the PlayStation release just happened, so it's incredibly wild that it's already shutting down, but I think it's best to cut your losses while ahead. Don't get trapped into the cost-sunk fallacy world. And, in this case, they probably just don't have a lot of resources in terms of keeping the game viable for the long term anyway. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.